What is up, ninjas? My name is Sam World, and in today's video we're going to be talking about sound selection. Now, sound selection, guys, is going to be the act of, obviously, you're making a song and you're going to pick your bass. So you pick a certain kind of bass, your leads, your drums, etc. Now, sound selection is super important, and I feel like if you improve on it, that it can actually give you better mixes and better masters. And you're going to see in this video why as we go through the 5 tips that I have for you guys today. As always, if you want to support the channel, guys, make sure to head over to evilsounds.com. It's getting really hot in here, so I got to turn off this stuff, so no camera for today's video, but I hope that you still enjoy it, and let's get straight into this. The first tip to improve your sound selection is to define the genre that you are in. Oh, I already see a lot of you guys getting mad, but here's the thing, guys. Defining the genre that you are in is really going to define the kind of kick, clap, snares, sounds that you're going to be using. Now, I understand a lot of you guys want to be unique and you want to be different, but there's just some stuff you don't F around with, okay? So I'll give you guys an example. I have a tech house track here, and I went on the Tech House Music 2021. Let's say it's the best tech house tracks out there at the moment. And I noticed there's a pattern with the kind of drums these guys are using, but there are differences between them in the sense that, you know, maybe the additive drums are different, but the kick, the clap, the open hat all hit the same. They sound similar. So maybe there's a reason why they're using them. But let's assume that I'm like, okay, I'll make a beat like that, and then I get this. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to be unique and add a shot that's different. And I'm like, all right, cool. But for some reason, the devil decides to come inside of me. I read something on Instagram, and I'm like, these damn tech house producers using these god-awful, they all have the same kicks and whatnot. You know what? I'm going to be different, and I'm going to use a sidekick. And then you get something that sounds like this. You know, you have that, and then you take it to a feedback stream, probably mine's, and we all told you the kick sucks, and then you tell us to F off and whatnot, and then you try to process this kick in so many different ways, but it just never works. Okay, this all could have been avoided. There's stuff you don't mess with. There's ways to be more unique when it comes to it. For instance, for me, what I tell most people and most of the students whenever I get asked this question is you can be unique in different ways, in the ways that maybe you don't have similar bass melodies. Maybe you're using the same bass as they are, but you find different ways to be unique with it, different melodies, different rhythms. Your drums, you still have the stapled open. You still have the clap. You still have the same kick. But then maybe everything else, the other drums you layer this up with are different, and that's where it can get a lot more interesting rather than destroying your track, making the mix sound like crap by just trying to be unique. So defining the genre is very important, because from there, if it's a tech house track, I know I need a funky bass, but from there, the synths, I could be generic and decide to go with the super saws, or I could try to find unique synths, maybe use a flute, maybe use something different than these guys are using to be unique. But defining the genre is really going to help in just getting the basics, the staples of the sounds that you have in your track to get the track really going. The second tip to improve your sound selection is to utilize niche sample packs. Now, I know a lot of you guys are saying this is even production related. I promise we're going to get there, guys. But I feel like some people need to hear this. One, personally me, I like to use sample packs that tell you what they are about and even niche it down further. For instance, you know, if I want to make nasty, dirty warehouse tech house or techno, then I find a pack in that genre, as that's really going to narrow it down to the kind of sounds I'm going to be putting in my track, and I have more success with that. Now, I'm not going to lie, I still go into other packs when I'm trying to be unique. For instance, in this track, I decided to go into a hip-hop pack to put this damn vocal. And that can work, but I feel like when you're, again, making your song and you're trying to create the meat of it, the niche sample packs come in really, really, really effing dope, because you know every sound in there is going to work in the track that you are making. Now, of course, there's always exceptions with it, but using niche sample packs is something that I do heavily, and I always buy packs that always are super niche. I hate buying packs that are all over the place, and it's kind of funny because I have Cashmere's Volume 1, Volume 3, Volume 2, which are a little all over the place, but they do categorize the samples, which I really enjoyed and appreciate. All right, so now let's get into a scenario where you probably have a track like this where it's pretty much filled out. some reason you're like, okay, I think I need another sound. And from there, what is the sound selection process? So the third tip I have to improve your sound selection is to look at what frequency every sound at the specific section of the song that you're going to put a sound in is taking up, and from there decide what you can put. So for instance, in this part of the song, it's pretty layered. I have a main melody playing essentially the drop chord sound. But as you can see, as we look at this, we are heavily missing highs. So if I'm going to be putting another sound in this, I'm going to pick something that is probably going to be more high frequency based. So here I might decide, okay, I'm gonna have this pad, but I want to layer it with, I don't know, a stringy bass sound from Selena. Maybe just have it be like all the way straight. So I'm gonna pick a sound that's more higher frequency based. I'm not gonna pick another bass. I'm gonna pick something kind of like that I can use to maybe fill out that part. And one of the easiest ways to do it is to use from there. That might sound a little too cheesy, so maybe the sound is just being used in a weird kind of way. So then that's where I might maybe decide to go with maybe just holding the 7th note in the scale of D sharp, which is what this track is in, and we're gonna try that. From there, put an EQ, maybe get rid of some of this. Again. Maybe put it a little louder. From there, if I want to layer the pad, maybe I can try and find a sound that's not going to be as cheesy. But looking at your frequency spectrum, what's missing really helps, because for instance, I already know my mids are heavily clogged in the track. So why am I going to go with a sound down the mid? For instance, here on this part of the drop, I have the chord sound, which is very mid heavy. But then if I decide to put it here, it just becomes a cluster F of like mud, like mierda, poopy, because it just doesn't make sense to add that when I already have this kind of plucky sound going. So when you're picking your sounds, look at what's missing. So obviously a bass, like, oh, this bass missing, etc., whatever. But let's say that you have a track and you find atmosphere is missing, find out where you can add it, maybe more in the highs. This will heavily improve the mixing, because in all honesty, mixing can be easy if you pick the right sounds, aka tech house track, tech house kick, versus picking a sidekick. You're just making your life a living hell. And eventually, if you cue it in a certain way to the reference track that you're using, you're just gonna get a damn fucking tech house kick at the end of the day. So again, there's just kind of ways to kind of go about sound selection, and one of those will be to kind of pick where you're gonna be at here in your frequency spectrum. The fourth tip to improve your sound selection, which works into your mixing as well of the track, is to determine if your track needs a side or stereo, let's say quotation marks on stereo, mono or mid sound. Okay, and then from here, a lot of you guys are going to have the question, how do I know if something is mono versus stereo, or if something's mid versus side? So I'll show you guys something. This is heavily mono quotation marks, because some people are going to say that's wrong. But to me, I determine it as a mono sound, because it's coming straight from the center. The moment that you have a patch with 3 unison and detunement, a lot of synths will put it wide unless in the global section the width is put down. But then this becomes, aka quotation marks again, stereo or side heavy, because now you can hear that the sound it's spread out more. So when I'm working on a song, I really use this a lot, because if my mids or mono center, or the mids of the song in the middle, is fully heavy and I want to add something, maybe it can fit better in the wide part of the track. So for instance, I'll give you an example. Maybe we have okay, and let's say for some dumb reason I want to play something with this, and I'm like, I want a sound to play with it. Obviously I'm not going to put a sound in the mid, because I have that sound taking that up, but The stereo signal, there's just a delayed shot that's there, so, or the side signal. So maybe I can come in with, I don't know, God knows, like a generic kind of sound like sorts. So maybe that will work. For some reason, I want to make a track with just a bunch of this stuff. Okay, so then that sort of surrounds that mid sound a lot better than if I were to say, let's mono this bad boy and overlap them. You can kind of see already that I'm shooting myself in the foot, so I probably wouldn't pick a sound that is mid-heavy or eight. And when I say mid, I don't mean frequency, I mean more in the stereo image of it. Because if I run an ozone imager on this sound, you're gonna see that it's gonna look like a little thin pencil, which might look like your thing, but you know, that's your business. But once I again go here, you can see that this is more of a wide response, and if we go to the chord shot, it's going to be a line as well. So this surrounds it. So I would decide to go with a sound maybe that's wider versus one that's very mid-heavy. Another thing that really pisses me off is when people have a vocal or they have a track and for some reason they want to play chords, and then they have a very monophonic or mid-heavy sound, and they make it wide for some effing reason. Again, if you want to make something wide, just better to go with a sound than utilizing the Haas effect on it. Again, different opinions, but that's just another thing to look out for. The last and final tip I have for you guys to improve your sound selection is to set a theme to your song, which ties to the first one, which is defining your genre. So I'm going to play you guys here another tech house track I started today, which sounds like this. So instantly hearing that, I picked the flute idea a lot, so that instantly put me in a theme already, which is Latin, tribally, whatever you might think. So from there, I'm gonna go into a pack. Let's say I want to fill out the drums more, so I'm gonna go into a tribal tech house pack from Toolroom Academy. Pick this loop, obviously kind of makes sense, mainly for the idea that it has that Latin kind of conga drums. Now from there, it sounds like it's a little out of key because the perks do tend to have a key to them. So from there, I might decide either one, try and tune this, or two, I'm gonna just pick another one that's gonna fit. But from there, I'm taking all the other tips into account versus mono, wide, etc. If I look at my bass, it's taking up a lot of real estate on the op, so maybe I might not want to utilize toms. Instead, maybe I could go for rim shots that aren't going to take up a lot of mid-low, and I'm not going to have to EQ out my bass. I might, those are the things that I'm looking for when I'm picking sounds. So for instance, I don't know this. Good track. And again, just trying to find one that's going to work. These are just a bit too, See, like this is heavy and I probably wouldn't pick that. This one's sounding a little better. But hopefully that you get the idea of setting that theme. Now I know, okay, I'm narrowing it down even further. Probably looking for more Latin inspired sounds. I might get trumpets. I might get female vocals to soundscape this track out into more of a tribal sort of track or Latin inspired track, while still keeping that tech house flavor. Just because I'm putting it in the theme of Latin doesn't mean I'm gonna start going yeah, Bad Bunny in the house. You get my drill. But other than that, guys, those are gonna be the 5 tips I have for you guys, and hopefully you guys enjoyed them. Hopefully they help in any way or form. A lot of this to me feels like common sense, but I know there's some people out there that need to hear this, and hopefully hearing this helps you guys make better sound selection decisions.